So today I'm going to be working on this boat, just a basic buff and get rid of some scratches. And the one thing I found in my 30-year career working on boats is that just because you pay a lot for a product doesn't mean it's good. There's tons of product on the market, and run the gambit of prices, and the most expensive stuff isn't necessarily the best. So I'm going to do this boat today, and I'm going to do it just with things that I bought from Harbor Freight. Anybody can go there. You can go there. There's Harbor Freights everywhere, and it's reasonably priced, and it seems to be decent stuff. You can spend 3 times as much elsewhere to get the same exact results. And I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you what you can do. This sanding block came from Harbor Freight at one time. It's a Meguiar's sanding block. You might not be able to read it there, but it's just a semi-flexible sanding block. Then I have some Bauer 6-inch hook and loop 400 grit sandpaper. And I'll put the price for all this in the description, but if I remember right, I think this was like $7. So it's not that expensive. It does have the holes in it. You don't worry about that. That's, for dust collection, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect anything. They can have the holes really. So we'll start by sanding out some of these scratches. This seems to cut pretty nice. But realistically, between this sandpaper and a piece of 3M sandpaper, high dollar, Mirka, some expensive sandpaper, there's absolutely no difference. I would know. You can tell on really bad sandpaper. This feels good. Now we'll wet sand it. Again, Harbor Freight. This is Hercules. Wet sandpaper. I think I said 1,000. It's 1,200. I have a pump-up bottle, but you can use just a regular squirt bottle, or you can even just dunk this in some water. You can see it's obviously cutting. That's probably good. And now we're going to buff it, and I'll use my Harbor Freight buffer. And even the Backerton pad is Harbor Freight. Might have came with the buffer. I don't know, but it's from Harbor Freight too. And it's really reasonable. I think I've used it for at least a year of full-time use, so it's held up well. Grant's pad. These are kind of new to Harbor Freight anyway. But it's just a nice wool pad. Again, I think it was $9 as opposed to $40 for a 3M pad that does the same exact job. It's heavy wool. It's good stuff. And again from Harbor Freight, Meguiar's one-step compound. It's just like it says, one step, so it removes the scratches and gives it a polish at the same time. And I know some people like to put the compound on their pad. I find it just loads up my pad too fast and it slings everywhere, so I put the compound on a paper towel and then spread it on the project. I guess just a personal preference thing. That might be a little bit more than I wanted, but it's good enough. It doesn't seem to leave a lot of residue on it. Wipes off pretty good. You don't have to really scrub on it. It doesn't like to load up, and leave, batches on there that you have to buff back over to get out. It's removing, most of the oxidation. Some of the super fine scratches, some of the more going a little bit deeper scratches, of course, it's not going to come out, not without sanding. But I mean, for a general purpose rubbing compound, man, it seems to be okay. So it's looking good. I'll just keep on. There is a little bit of a grit to it, and in my opinion, there has to be. Anything that says it's going to remove 1,200 or finer scratches has to have a little bit of, you have to be able to feel it. Otherwise, it's just more of a polish than a compound. Yeah, and it certainly did remove all of the scratches. There's no more sanding scratches in there whatsoever. And honestly, you would be, unless you're like maybe do detailing or repair for a living, you would never know the difference between this finish and maybe a finish that, used 3 or 4 different compounds and, a couple different pads, I just don't think you'd know the difference. This is going to be acceptable for 95% of the people. Let's see if I can get you close. Well, we got it pressure washed. It's all done. We wiped it down, and it looks really good. So you can see with Harbor Freight buffing compound and a buff pad, you can do a pretty good job.